So after some months of promising, I eventually decided to just dip my toes into the world of photo editing videos. Um, this is not going to be a very long video, just a short video with the emphasis on perhaps showing the newbies out there or others that are in astrophotography that are intimidated by all these very complex and in-depth editing techniques, that it is possible to create an image um, of what I would call possibly above average, at least, and definitely good enough to post on to your social media accounts. Um, so, without any further ado, so basically, this is a single image I took. I'm in the develop mode of Lightroom. But if I just go back to library, just show you the metadata quickly. Um, so there you go. So basically, I shoot with a Canon 5D Mark IV and with a Samyang 24mm f1.4 lens. My go-to settings for a single image is normally around about 13 seconds exposure, ISO of 6400 or 3200, depending on what I'm dealing with, how dark it is, and what I want to capture. Aperture is usually f2.0. Unfortunately, the data or the information from the lens cannot be read by the camera with these third-party Samyang lenses, so the camera doesn't pick up the aperture, but I generally shoot at f2.0 for majority of my single images, and like you can see, it's just a single image in portrait mode of the rising Milky Way core, with me sitting with my trusty tent. So jump into the develop module. So I'm sure a lot of purists are going to throw shade and hate my way, but I don't have a problem jumping into basic and hitting auto to see what the software shoots out at me. There are times when I'll leave it here and I'll work from there. I don't have a problem with that. Other times I'd go back to just the original import and start from scratch, which is what I'll show you here. But I don't have an issue with doing that every now and then. So if we go in there, and basically I do not have any presets. It's something I've never looked into, never felt the need for with my photography. It's just, for me, I like to edit every single image on merit as I open it, how I feel at the time of editing, how it made me feel at the time of capture, and that's the way I do it. I don't have any issues with presets. Um, I I think it's a great way to speed up your editing process, and I suspect if you had to record every one of my photo editing sessions, you probably find that I tend to edit them unconsciously or subconsciously exactly the same way. Um, but yeah, for the most part, I don't have any presets. I'll just go into an image and start from scratch. I also don't have a, a really predetermined workflow. The one thing I always do first is lens correction, so I'll enable the profile corrections and remove the chromatic aberration. I sometimes, unfortunately, with my lens, get these rings, especially in the shadows. I don't know what it is. If anybody does know and willing to jump on here and give me an answer, please do. Some of my images have it, some of them don't. And unfortunately, the enabling profile corrections is what brings them about. So if I do get them, I'll disable that and just edit without that. All right, so if we just jump in here, so basic, I shoot my white balance is always 4100. I prefer my images on the cooler side, and that's just my general setting, but you can obviously adjust that to what you feel like now in post. And I'll just run through the sliders now and have a bit of a play. Highlights, I always tend to bring my highlights right down. I just find that's just something that I do. Shadows, again, with this night photography, you sometimes have to push the shadows up. You don't want to push it up too much because it brings in a lot of noise. It also is affecting the entire image. But I'll push it up quite high, yeah. Um, whites up a little bit, blacks down. Remember, blacks affects the whole image here where we are now, so it's going to affect my shadow. So I'm not going to do that. I'll take it to about there because I'm going to edit the sky with a mask. Um, I'm not scared of the dehaze slider. I know you've got to deal with it carefully. I'll bring my temperature up because it does tend to make an image rather blue. I like the clarity. Now, this for me, this is a contentious issue which a few of my followers have given me grief for, about star reduction. I think the images are beautiful with it. It's just not something that I do. Again, perhaps if I had more time or I wasn't such an old fart, I would learn the process and maybe improve my images and get them to a level of those that I respect and my idols in astrophotography. But for the most part, for me, is I go out and I shoot the stars. I don't want to reduce any stars, but I don't have any issues with it whatsoever. Don't get me wrong. I love those images. Just for me, I quite like. I know it's very busy, and again, a lot of purists will not like it and prefer it clean, but I quite like that image or my images like that. Um, and so I'll just keep moving along on the sliders until I find I'm okay. So if I go in, I can see there's quite a bit of noise there, but we'll deal with that. So for a single image like this, like I say, I don't mind the noise. I'm quite happy to just play with the luminance slider here in Lightroom, and that to me, I'm quite happy with that. Obviously, that takes the noise out of the entire image. But you've also got the denoise function that does a fantastic job, and I do find I'm starting to use that more and more. It just chews my computer and takes a while, so I probably would use it more if it didn't take so long to denoise an image. Anyway, so I get my images to a point where I'm sort of happy with it, and then I'll jump into the masks. In Lightroom, I've got all these amazing masks now. I make life a lot easier. So I'll always go in and edit my sky on its own. I'll pop in, create a mask for the sky. I always like to just check the overlay, but for the most part, Lightroom always does such a good job here. And then again, I'll just play around with the sliders to find what I'm after. Because this is early in the evening, the Milky Way core is still rising, so there's not a lot of detail because there's a lot of haze around the horizon. So I'm always wary of making it a little bit too dark, because at the end of the day, yeah, he's going to lose a lot of detail, I think. So I am wary. And also with this glow on the horizon and the clouds, if you start making things too dark, these colors start going a bit funky. You can, I definitely don't want it too blue. I'll take up the warmth, bring the contrast down a little bit. I'm starting to like that. I think. For the most part, I don't generally go in and do noise reduction on my skies unless there's a need. I don't want it too green. I quite like that there. And then obviously you can enhance this at the top with this slider there. Do that. And we'll just have a quick look. So that's where we started. That's where we're at, and I quite like it. Go into the brush. We'll just take this section of the tint that's a little bit blown out where my light was. Just reduce that. As you can see, I've probably reduced it a little bit too much, but let's have a look. With this video, for the sake of time, I'm not being as precise as I would be with my normal edits, but definitely take your time, make sure that everything, stay within the lines, because at the end of the day, the image reflects you, and you don't want to be posting something up there that doesn't reflect the quality that you would expect of an image. I'm guilty of that at times, I think. Then another brush maybe for, so you've also got your linear gradients, radial gradients. We'll do a radial gradient for the Milky Way, but you could do a linear gradient for here, but this will affect the entire thing. So I'll just go into that one, stay in that brush, pull the shadows up, probably not that much, and I'll go back there and fix that up now. This regional park at this time of year when I shot this is very green and lush, so this is quite a true reflection. I don't want it too bright, probably around there, and then we can put a little bit of noise reduction in there, maybe something like that. And then, so what I was saying about the radial gradient, so bring in a new radial gradient and just basically stick it over the core. And that's just to bring out some more detail. When the core is a little bit higher up, you can get a little bit more detail, but when it's quite low. And the other problem is the big portion is quite low, and as it goes up, so it thins. So with this type of radial gradient here, you might find that you start going over the edges, but let's see how we go with this. So for the most part with my cores, I like to have them a little warmer, and just to pop a little bit. I love these dust gutters, dust corridors that run through the Milky Way, and so I always like to enhance those, because I think it's just a beautiful part of the Milky Way, and it's just striking a bit of a balance between what you want, and pop a little bit more, a little bit of magenta in there, not much. Let's see what that's done for us. You can see it just pops it up nicely. And again, you can go in and do some finer modifications, which is what I would probably do for the most part. And then I'm not going to be too perfect with this, but just to give you an idea, these dust gutters or corridors, to go in here and just enhance them, just bring out the darker colors. Like I say, if I was doing this, I'd be a little bit more precise. Some of them are quite dark, so you've got to be careful to not overdo it, I think. Just something like that. And then can't forget our galactic kiwi, and for the most part you got to be a little bit careful here that you don't make this too dark. Something like that. So look what that is there. You've also got some dust gutters here, and the Centaurus region, there's a bit of color always there, a bit of magenta, a bit of blue, a bit of yellow, gold there. And I like to go in and enhance those colors a little bit. In the raw file, you can just make the color out. But for the sake of time, I'm not going to go into that now. But you can go in there, and what I try and do is have a look at images that are out there that depict what I think's accurate, or how accurate or accurate depiction of that area, and I'll go in and try and replicate that. This is an untracked image, so the detail isn't as much or as in depth, and so yeah, it doesn't pull as much color out. And with this, because of the air glow that was on the horizon and a few of these pesky clouds, you've got to be careful to darken it too much. Another thing I would do is I would darken the sky around the core. That just also helps the core pop. And although I know the sky is not black, I like that dark black around the outside. It's, to my eye, that's how the sky appeared. Top left corner here, you can see might need a little bit of fixing. I will just, and again, I'll play with this, if I'm honest. I wish I could say I was more scientific, and probably shooting myself in the foot now. People looking at this saying, "Oh my goodness, why would I follow a guy like this? He doesn't have a clue what he's doing." But my point is if that's your thoughts and you think that I'm clueless, it just goes to show that even a clueless guy is able to come up with some half decent images, at least, as I would say. And just something like that. Let me just go back in there and very corner. You can also obviously crop this out, but I like the core running into that corner there. So if I'm able to, I'm going to try and not crop out something I don't need to crop out. Okay. And I mean, for the most part, that's really it. If I go out of my masks now, my computer's going to have a fit, and if I have to come back in, it's going to struggle. So just have a quick look before I go out here again. If that's before, and that's after. And like I say, this is just a real basic edit to show you. You can clean up, get rid of the post over there, and fine tune all the little bits and pieces of the image. But I'd be quite happy with it. And just to give you an idea of, when I say darken it up, just see what we get. And again, like I say, without trying to be funny, this is all trial and error. I would paint this all in, see what it gave me. If I didn't like it, delete it, get back to the drawing board. And I would be very pedantic about where I'm brushing, and a little bit more accurate than what I'm doing here. But just to give you a bit of an idea of basic edit. So I'll just paint it a little bit here. You can see I'm getting the rainbow wheel of death, because I made the cardinal sin of going out of my mask screen to show you the before and after. So I'll just paint that in a little bit there, and then I think I'm gonna call it quits while I'm ahead. So for the most part, there you go. So just a real basic edit. I would go and just make sure that these sections are clean. As you can see, the rainbow wheel of death is just spinning itself here. So unfortunately my laptop is way too full of photos, and my Lightroom catalog too. But anyway, so there you go. There's the before and there's the after. If we make it full screen, who knows how long this might take. But there you go. So not too, I don't think it's too bad for a very basic, less than 20-minute edit. And definitely good enough to be popping up onto a social media or popping it onto a social media account somewhere. Anyway, hopefully this has been of use and helpful to someone out there, or some of you. I suspect most of you are probably beyond or way past this level of editing, but I'm sure there are some of you that might find one or two things useful in here. Anyway, I hope you'll like it. I'm not going to say hit subscribe because I don't plan on doing too many of these. I don't plan on doing too much on YouTube either. If you want to get in touch via Instagram. If this video does well, I'll possibly do another one. If it doesn't, if it tanks, then come visit me on Instagram. Anyway, hopefully everyone's enjoyed this, and maybe I'll see you sometime soon. See ya.